All God's people said, Amen. Wasn't that good? Wow. What a wonderful time it is. And those of you that have been hanging out with me and have been visiting and just been going through, we have been bogged in for weeks and weeks and weeks. 15 of them, as a matter of fact, that we dealt with. This whole Sermon on the Mount series, we are about halfway through, and we're going to take a time out. And in order to take a time out, we're going to look in December at what all of this is about. Why in the world do so many people get so excited about what Christmas looks like? I mean, just think about those of you that are, man, they get on and your social media junkies. Think about the pictures that have been posted already. I was watching along, and I've got several folks that enjoy Christmas incredibly well. And one told me she was shooting pictures of her Christmas trees. She had 3 up. She said 4 more to go. And I'm thinking, these 3 were just immaculate. It was unbelievable. And I thought that's incredible. And then I get pictures from this time of the year. We get in the festive mode and Christmas parades. And every community town, everybody gets to have a Christmas parade. And people are involved in it. Christmas is an incredible time of the year. And the reality of what Christmas has, and churches are not immune to this, okay? We've done all kinds of things. Those of you that have lived in this part of the world most of your life have, for the last 25, 26, 27 years, been involved or at least probably attended Christmas Now and Then. You might have made one of those productions. Just really were incredible. I've been to 2 or 3 of them, and then you just packed in there like you could be, just folks there. Then we would have all kinds of living Christmas trees were a big thing. Way back, First Baptist Church Montgomery puts on a huge one, 150 voices, full orchestra, and fill up their big old building with that big, huge Christmas tree. And it's a magnificent thing. You go to it, you just walk out festive. You want to get some apple cider and go shopping. That's just what happens to you. You just get in all that kind of festive spirit. Well, you realize what I just said. That's what happens to most of us. It winds up being a shopping event. And children are clamoring and just, they're foaming at the mouth. What in the world is going to happen this Christmas? They have put together a list. They have handed it off. And they're hoping that the items on this list somehow or another makes it to them on Christmas morning. Well, over the next few weeks, we're going to look at what Christmas really is. And the significance of Christmas and the wonder of Christmas. And we have to ask ourselves if we really, really want Christ in Christmas. That's the truth. Because you know and I know, Christmas is much like the songs that we sing. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. Nobody's ever done that. Frosty the snowman. That's never been a part of us. Here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus. Nobody's ever done that. That's what Christmas is. In most people's eyes. Jingle bells. You understand? That's what Christmas is. Those are the things that we engage in. Folks come out of Thanksgiving after preparing hordes of food, and they're getting ready to do it one more time. Families are coming together. We're cooking hours and hours and hours, and Lord, it's consumed in 30 minutes. And the dear folks that have prepared it have labored over it for hours, and it's just gone. And you think, what is that? Where? And folks are gone. I just want you to somehow or another grab with me this whole component about what Christmas really is. And if you and I are going to make sure that Christ is the center of Christmas, it's going to take a commitment. A real commitment. Not just a thought commitment, but a real, genuine commitment. The Bible kind of puts it this way. Luke chapter 14, and Michael's got that for us. We're going to read it off this screen today. Here's what it says. Now great crowds accompanied him. And he turned and said to them, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Verse 27, for whosoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. 28, for which of you desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Or otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. Or what king going out to encounter another king in war will not sit down first and deliberate whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? And if not, while the other is yet a great way off, he send a delegation and ask for terms of peace. Therefore, any one of you who does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciple. Those are some hard sayings Christ has said. It talks about relationship. Disciple is a follower, if you will, an understudy. Christ says, if you're going to be an understudy of me, there are some qualifications. And the bottom line is that when you read through this whole section of Scripture, you found time and time again, you cannot be my disciple, you cannot be my disciple, you cannot be my disciple unless what? You make a commitment. You got to be committed to it. If you're going to celebrate Christmas, there has to be commitment. There's no way around that. You have to be committed to celebrate Christmas in the middle of knowing that Christ is going to be the center of what Christmas is. Not hordes of resources spent on tons of gifts that most folks in most day and ages only will for a short period of time and then they're gone. Toys are one of those things that we have through the years spent tons on. And boy, I have found that little Skeeter, that's my 2-year-old grandson, had a lot rather play with an old hammer and a screwdriver than he had a $50 toy that I'd purchased at the store. You give him a screwdriver and a bolt and a nut and he goes wild. You give him a new toy and he'll play with it 2 or 3 minutes and he moves on. He goes on to something else. It only captivates his time for that period of time. So I'm just saying to you that what Christmas looks like has got to be determined by who you are as an individual and what you want your family to experience in Christmas this year. We're going to explore this morning. Explore as we can what this section of Scripture here in Luke 14, 25 through 33 had to say about what it really looks like to put Christ in the middle of Christmas. In other words, He is Christmas. He is that celebration of who you and I are, and it's going to take commitment. We're going to pray, and then we're going to get real busy. Our deacon of the month this month is Brian Stafford. Brian, would you just pray for us right now and ask God to bless the reading and also impact us with a teaching.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come thank you for another beautiful day that you have given to us. Lord, give us a day to gather together and worship you and lift you up as only you need to be. Give you all the glory, honor, and praise, Lord. We pray over this time of worship now. We pray over Brother Boswell. We pray over the reading of the Word. We pray over any movement, any work that's done here today will be all glory given to you, Father. Lord, as we enter into the Christmas season, may we seek you evermore and keep you at the forefront of each and everything that we do. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
1776, the year this country was formulated, there was a declaration written, a Declaration of Independence. Thomas Paine was one of those individuals that had a lot to do with the formation and the writing of that. I jotted this down. I want you to listen to it. And you got to realize how long ago it was written. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. 'Tis dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven shows how to put a proper price upon its goods. And it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated. Now I want you to think about that for a second with me. I want you to consider that. this country's framework and foundation was put together by individuals that had commitments and desperately did that. The writer in John's Gospel, in the 6th chapter, wrote it this way in verse number 60. Here's what it said. How many of his disciples heard it? When many of his disciples heard it, they said, "This is a hard saying. Who can listen to it?" You understand? Christ said hard things. If you drop down a few verses to verse 66, after this, many of his disciples turned back and no longer walked with him. When you come to passages of Scripture, like I had read previously, where it said you cannot be a disciple. You cannot be a disciple. You cannot be an understudy if you're not willing to do something with it. What we do with what he said here in John 6, if you knew the whole context of that passage of Scripture, Christ was talking about what it meant to follow after him, how to live his life, and how people had to live their life in accordance with his direction. And he said, already I know who's going to betray me. And he said, I can pinpoint that person. Everyone will follow me. And quite obviously, what you find here is the writing says, not only did they say it was a hard saying, they said, you know what? We're just going to turn back. We can't do this. It is too difficult. I'm mindful of the fact that so many times there are things in our life that seems next to impossible. Christ in the middle of Christmas in the 21st century seems like a foreign thing. It was that event that transpired, that brought him about, that was foretold. We began learning about it in life groups this morning, 700 plus years ago, before his birth. It did not change. It has not wavered. It has withstood all the test of time. And there are individuals that continue today to follow after Christ. But there are those that come and engage in and look at and listen to and say, that's too tough. That's just entirely too hard. You and I have to understand that we have to make, just as Thomas Paine had penned, a declaration, if you will, a mental commitment to see that that transpires. I'm mindful of the fact that when the Declaration of Independence was signed, that those individuals that signed that declaration went through an incredible amount of scrutiny and heartache and pain and loss of life because they made that commitment. They decided to do what they had to do. Here's what it says. There were 56 courageous men that made that kind of statement. 5 of them were captured, beaten, and brutally mistreated by the British. 9 died in the Revolutionary War. 12 had their homes sacked, looted, and burned. 2 of those 56 men lost their sons in battle. And 1 had 2 sons captured and taken away in captivity. My goodness. The price that they paid was a high price. You and I being able to show our children what Christmas ought to really be about will take a high price. You'll have to say, in this day and age, where we celebrate more about lights, glitz, and glamour than the birth of the Christ child, I'm going to make sure my children enjoy Christmas the proper way. Some of us will even do events at home that try to bring out olden memories. We'll cut up shreds of paper and make little rings and decorate our tree with it. And we'll take a line of thread and run it through popcorn, and we'll decorate our tree with it. We'll even get cranberries and we'll put them together. You understand, we have a vein in us that says we want to hold on to some of those old traditions that we grew up with. not everyone's having it nearly as easy as we have had it. Not everyone has not had to go through difficult times when it came to Christmas. I was reminded this week, my mother slipped away from us in 2001. That's 17 years ago. It's hard for me to believe that transpired. And, my dad passed away in 2006, and I thought about that. Oh, that's 12 years. I can still at times hear him talking to me, and that time is like. Daddy told a story about how hard it was. In the 1930s, it was a tough time in America. It wasn't as easy. There was no electric hair dryers. There was no times or places where they could go and just frolic and hang out. And they was getting ready for Christmas at the old schoolhouse, Central School. Aunt Myrtle and Daddy were close in age, and they were in school. They got to school that day, and all the children were happy. The big old Christmas tree, and I can take you to the same building that was there then. It's still standing today. It's hard to believe, but it's there. And there's a big old room in there, and that big room in there had the big Christmas tree, and there was gifts under this tree, and they started doling out gifts to the kids. Well, they got down to 80 Boswell, and there was no gift. He began to cry. Myrtle Boswell got an apple out from under that tree. She was fired up, boy. And she was eating that thing going home, and Daddy was crying and carrying on. Well, come to find out, the only reason she got apples because she took it to school with her that day and put it on that tree with her name on it. It was tough on those folks. But there was a commitment to Christmas different from what you and I experience this day and age. We look at Christmas and we think about all of the things that we can accumulate. And through the years, I've watched as my children have laughed and smiled and been happy over the expressions of joy that come on their face when they would open a gift or find out that we got them something. And then we determined that the children were competing for who would get the same amount of gifts. And it cut a little bit of the glamour off of it for me. I won't lie to you. I had one child growing up, and she watched everything everybody else got and made sure she got exactly the same number of gifts that they got. And if she did not, we heard about that. How selfish is that? How can you have that kind of spirit? But that's what we breathe. That's what we allow them to see. That's what we allow them to watch. That's what we did in the whole process. I want us to know that Christmas really means something. And it can be real. It really can. And Christmas will only be real if we position Him, Christ. Christmas will only be real if we do. Not by what we put on the tree, not by what we put under the tree, not by what we stuff in the stockings, not by how many times we put together parties and we come together and get together. Christmas will only be real if we position Him, Christ, first of all, above personal relationships. You remember what that passage said, verse 26? I want you to look at it with me. Flip back to it. There we are. Look what it says. If anyone comes to me and does not, and this is a tough word. The Greek word hate here is it's a tough word. But anyway, you and I have formulated in our minds what we think it is. I'm going to tell you in just a second. Hate his own father and mother and wife and children, brothers and sisters. Yea, in his own life, he cannot be my disciple. What you and I have formulated as hate in American society today is that thing which spews out of us as contentious and hard, and we don't care about those. That is not what this word is. The word there is used so that you and I can understand that nothing can come between who we are and Him. It is that separating word. It is that word that is used there to help us understand that we cannot put anything above Christ. In other words, Christ has to be the center. And you see, Christmas can be real when that happens. Personal relationships sometimes get involved, and so much so that we become so consumed with personal relationships that we somehow or another put Christ over on the side, and we focus on those personal relationships. Personal relationships are incredible if we love Christ first and them second. And so that was what Christ was wanting them to understand. He didn't want them to have a contagious spirit towards parents and an evil feeling towards a brother or a sister. He just wanted to make sure that none of those things interrupted their relationship with Him. That's you and I putting Christmas in its perspective. That nothing will do that. Not the amount of gifts that we buy, not the stress that comes. And none of y'all have that. Stress can come. Boy, I got to get that last gift. Never forget the movie that came out several years ago, Jingle All the Way. There was one stinking little old toy that these folks were after. And if they didn't get it, their son was going to be somehow or another absolutely mortified. Do you realize that we get in that same stressful mode? I've got to have this particular thing. Raising girls, all girls. I come up through the time when Cabbage Patch Dolls was real. We've even got some hand-autographed Xavier Roberts dolls at our house. Don't ask me how much they're worth. I try to get my wife to pawn them off all the time. I don't have no idea, but they came out before the Cabbage Patch Kid, okay? We've been to the hospital. Oh yeah, I've been up in the hospital. I picked my daughter's dolls out, dang them things, over at the hospital to take home with me. Adopted them over in Georgia. Had to go do it. And it was a stressful, I mean, if I hadn't got them dolls, I mean, what if I got over at them in the wrong time? What if I hadn't had a pair of twins? What if I wanted twins? What if I hadn't had no twin births that day? And Cabbage don't look like no twins in there. Y'all better go back there and get some. It's a stressful thing. And Christmas is what we have made it. And your home and my home, we celebrate in all kinds of ways and excite them. I just want you to be aware of the fact and join with me this year and say, you know what? Christmas will only be real if we position Him above personal relationships. That's the first thing this passage said. And that was exactly what Christ was saying about being His disciple. You can't follow Him if you're not going to position Him above that. Second thing is this: Christmas will only be real if we position Him above personal goals and desires. Oh my. That hits home to all of us. Verse 27 says it this way: whoever does not bear his own cross, in other words, and come after me, he cannot be my disciples. You know, it's amazing. But Christ says to us, if you're going to have a real Christmas, your own personal goals and desires have to not exceed who He is. And you and I have to deny ourselves. We have to push that out of the way and bring Christ to the forefront. We have to really work at making that happen. You and I have remembered in this country and have read in history books, and those of you that have logged a few more miles than others, remember in history we would read about the Civil War and all of the toughness of the Civil War, what took place in that whole process. One of the leaders, quite obviously from our part of the South, was General Robert E. Lee. And that's caught a lot of flack, memorials and things that have been built to soldiers and individuals that fought during the Civil War. But here's what I want you to catch with me. He was riding one day with his entourage, quite obviously, in Virginia. And as he was coming through town, there was a lady that had a small child. And she came to the side of the horse that General Lee was riding. And she said to him at that time, would you just bless my baby? And here was his comments. Not mine, not fictitious. Here was his comments to her. He said to her, if you really want to help your child grow up to be the kind of man that would impact a whole community, a state, and a nation, start today by teaching him he must deny himself. The Bible says in Luke chapter 9 these words. And he said to all of them, if anyone will come after me, notice what he said, if anyone will come after me, let him, number one, deny himself. Number two, take up his cross daily. And number three, follow me. You and I have to come to the grip with that whole. Christmas is about Christ. It's not about all these things that we have somehow or another overloaded with. It's amazing today when you and I think about what is being done in this country. Large communities, huge cities. Amazon is doing everything they possibly can to get gifts to you. We have, actually, I was riding down the road the other day, and I mean, it was 7 o'clock already. UPS truck still out here in the woods. They were trying to find somebody's house. They had one more gift to get. They had to get them in there. They done somebody to order that stuff. They had to get there. And isn't it amazing what has transpired with what Christmas looks like, what Christmas feels like? You know, I'm mindful of those fun days in my life. I've told you story after story. But I'm telling you, that old silver pom-pom tree sitting in the front window with one of them rotisserie, red, orange, yellow, and green lights on it. Big old white wheel like that, cut in just exact, that thing would whip around, and that light, that tree would change colors. And for some reason or another, Mother thought that she had to have a different array of balls. She had one year that thing's covered up in blue balls. The next year, if she got to town early enough and made sure that they wasn't all balled out, she'd buy another color. One year was solid green balls. Next year, it was solid red balls. I mean, it just was one right. Year after that old pom-pom tree come out. I don't know how many years that thing lasted. That was part of my excitement. When I saw Mama digging and rounding around, and she'd come bringing that thing out of that old cedar road chest drawers thing that she had built stuff in there, and she'd go to pulling that thing out, and then she'd take them plastic candles. Plastic. They'd screw above the top of them. I'm sure that they'd have never, any of them, ever been coated by electrical work or anything else. Most of them probably would have blew up. If we were to plug one in today, that thing would go no telling to what, and we'd be calling Brian and that whole crew over there, and they'd have to come after there and put out the fire, okay? Ever went to that old farmhouse, had one of them candles a-flickering in it. Just flickering in it. That was Christmas. Boy, it was something else. And as time went along, she kept asking. We had a Santa Claus that tall. Hard, it wasn't, listen, you didn't have to worry about it blowing up. It was solid plastic. That thing must have had a 150-watt bulb in it, Tim. You turn it on, you could see it down there at the road. You got to realize we lived off the road. We didn't live up there. Now, you know, it's kind of like Sarah and David. They live out there in them woods, way back off the road. You can see old Sandy. He's sitting up there on the front porch, right up on the front porch. He's that tall. Those were exciting times for me. Thrilled me when Mama was putting all that stuff out. And as I think about what has transpired and what really Christmas is, those were fun. And then, boy, when she went to cooking, I mean, she started cooking weeks and weeks. I mean, some of them cakes had to be cooked a month out. And they sat in there in that cold room, and they was wrapped up in that rag and had all that adult beverage stuff poured on it. I won't go into any details about that, but that's what it was. And they'd sit there, and that cake would mellow. Ooh, and you get ready. You know, I mean, it's a month out. You get ready right now. Here it is, first that cakes and pies, all this stuff's getting ready. Christmas was a different thing. And then we have now just so fashionably moved it forward. I mean, you really, you know, we was talking about meals and stuff. You don't even have to cook no more if you don't want to. You just call somebody and they'll make you a whole meal for you. You go pick it up and you pay them for it. And you ain't cooked nothing. You all sit around and you can eat it. Throw some of it in the microwave because it don't have to be microwaved. It's not real food, but you think it is. You just eat it. That's what's happened to us. I want you to know that our personal goals and desires cannot impede the significance of the birth of the Christ child. We must put Christ above our personal goals and desires. All of those things that we think Christmas ought to be, how it ought to look, how it ought to feel. And so I simply say to you, as you think about that with me this morning, there's a couple of things that you can see clearly. Christmas will only be real if we position Him above personal relationships, if we position Him above personal goals and desires. And the last thing is this: if we position Him above personal possessions. And I know possessions is that hard. We all want those toys. And we have created things today. You know, fellas, my daddy didn't have a man cave. Daddy never had a 60 or 70 inch TV with surround sound. I'm no different than you. You come in my house, I mean, there's one just about covers my whole fire. That's the only place big enough in my house to put it. I had to put it up there somewhere or I could get it up there. And I mean, it's like I'm sitting down at the Regal Theater, you know what I mean? I'm just sitting in that recline. Punch a button. Don't like that channel. Don't like that. Well, let's try this over here. Well, there ain't enough sports on this section here. Let's go to another section and see if we get some more. We have created those wonderful things that we thought we wanted. We just got to have. And then have you noticed how the whole movement of the folks that have created shopping has changed? Used to, Bill's dollar store and 5 and 10 cent store was that was a big thrill. Okay, then we got to TGNY. I ain't talking over some of y'all's heads. 2 or 3 of y'all shaking your head. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And then we finally got to, and then eventually, Walmart come out. And then Walmart wasn't big enough. You know that, don't you? All Walmarts have enlarged. They've all had to be brand new ones. And most of them got buildings sitting around in town nobody's even using, but that's what they've done. And we created, we wanted an inside mall. We built inside malls all everywhere. You can't imagine everywhere. Oh, and that's outdated now. We got to have shopping centers now where you can go from one major store and come out in the rain and the cold, go into another and walk down the sidewalk or sliding and all the stuff. And we created that. Those things is what we've wanted. And we have been fueled by what that looks like. And we want all of these toys and all these exciting things and all of these events. And the same way with the industry. Think about it. Taylor got him a new car, a truck, a few weeks ago. And he had some game plans for that. He wanted a certain kind. And he wasn't going to take nothing less than that certain kind. And I can't get in. It's so high up off the ground, I can't crawl up in it no more. Used to I could do that. I was young, I could bump up in there kind of like him. It ain't happening no more. I got to have him I can just kind of lay into. You know what I mean? Open the door, and the seat's got to be seat level. No, I can't go up or down, Ronnie. You know what I mean? It's got to just get right in that thing, and it's got to be wide enough that when I get ready to get out, that steering wheel get out of the way where I can get out of that thing. Used to be I could maneuver down. I could ride in a little old bitty Fiat. Man, boy, I'd wear that. No more. Them toy days is over. All I'm interested in is something comfortable. I want comfortable shoes. You know what I'm talking about, Marquita? I want comfortable chairs to sit in. I want comfortable furniture. I want comfortable stuff. Forget about a toy. I don't care what it looks like. If it's comfortable, it's better. But that's where we have gotten ourselves when it comes to this whole thought of Christmas, is that our personal possessions reign high with us, and we love those things, and we will doctor them, and we'll put bumper stickers. I love my truck. I love my coon dog. I love my hunting. I love everything. And I won't lie to you, we do that. We go through life doing it. I love this, and we've even got so much so now. Personal possessions is a major part of what. If you ever notice how baseball players all have a different kind of bat. They got their own, like, you go to a professional baseball park, man, you better have a line of bats. Yeah, they ain't interested in one stick. They got several different guys. It's theirs. It's their person. Most of them's already got it autographed. It's mine. And that is the kind of environment we're growing up in. That is what is transpired. Man, sack of peppermint sticks, all that's about over with. We don't very, it's hard to even find a sack of peppermint sticks, to be honest with you. You can find something called peppermint that's knockoff. Those days are long gone. Apples and oranges and a few nuts. That don't thrill nobody. Nobody's talking about that. That's not a part of who we are. It's got to be big, bright, and brilliant. And if it's not, then our personal possessions aren't fed like we want them to be fed. Can I ask you a personal question now? Since we've been real with each other, what kind of plans will you make for Christmas this year? What will it look like? Will you spend hours and hours of stress-filled days hunting that particular item that somehow or another really and truly will only satisfy for a short period of time? Will you go through all the rigors of somehow or another working through this period of time in your life where, man, I want Christmas to be bigger and better than it's ever been before? And parents, you know, just as surely as I'm standing here, if it's not, all of us feel guilty because that's what we've been told by somebody that is driving what the world looks like. Our children deserve more than we have had. Now, I don't want to go back to the 40s and 50s, and I don't want to have CC camps. I do not want to. I enjoy fans and air conditioning. I enjoy comfortable chairs. I don't want to go back to where you're sitting on just little old slats of wood on Sunday mornings and windows throwed up and you fanning with a fan coming from the funeral home just as hard as you can fan. I don't want that to transpire. It's always 12 o'clock. That thing lets me know when 12 o'clock is. Y'all know that, don't you? It goes off every week telling me about that. That makes me bad. I'm going to 12:30. So anyway, we get to that point of what Christmas really looks like. I don't want to go back, but I do want to do this. I want to make sure that Christ is the real reason I celebrate the season. How can it start? By putting Him above personal relationships, personal goals and desires, and personal possessions. If you'll do that, you can begin putting this thing together so that when you get to celebrations day on Christmas, it'll be a wonderful day for you. You can look your children in your face and say, you know what? We're going to talk about Christ before we ever open a gift. You can look your parents and your mamas, your aunts, your uncles, your brothers and sisters, your in-laws and your outlaws that show up at your house for a dinner. You know what? Before we ever consume any food, we're going to know that Christ is why we've got the privilege of sitting around this table right here. But it's got to start with you and I saying, you know what? We've got to do a little bit more. John had it together. Look what he said. John 3:30. Look what he said. Can't find it. Mike rolled him in. Did he leave? It's up in there somewhere or another. Left. Donnie, there you go, Donnie. Good, buddy. Here it is. John said, He must increase. And what? I must decrease. Christ in Christmas. That's where you and I've got to get to. Father, I thank you for this morning.